Coming up on today's wrestling news, AEW issues a huge list of banned move spots and more. A huge injury blow rocks the main event of Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor show. A major update on Ronda Rousey leaving WWE for a UFC return. And Britt Baker teases a women's blood and guts match in AEW. I'm Adam Wilborn.
I'm Michael Hamflett.
And this is the news. So let's dive straight in, Michael, for that story that was all over social media last night. Everyone talking about this list of banned things in AEW and stuff you have to get pre-approved. We'll break them down into two separate sections. This was brilliantly reported by Fightful, who broke the story. I'm just going to do a lot of reading now and then get your thoughts on it, because it's very comprehensive, this. There were protocols, writes Fightful, developed by the AEW medical team, coaches and referees to help protect talent, staff, crew and fans. The document said that while there is always a risk in pro wrestling, they wanted to minimize the risk without compromising the quality of the talent's performances and ability to be creative. Specifically, a document was sent out that outright banned unprotected chair shots to the head, shots to the back of the head, buckle bombs and blind moves backwards into the turnbuckle, fencing responses, unnatural position of arms following concussion, seizure cells, spitting, bleeding in the crowd, weapons or projectiles in the crowd, taking drinks or food from guests in the crowd, or physical contact with the crowd. We're told that nothing with blood on it should be thrown into the crowd. That's not all though, because as I mentioned, there's also a list of things that have to get pre-approved. Spots and bumps on the ring apron and outside, table ladder chair spots in and out of the ring, only allowed with padding, any elevated spots outside of the barricade, dives and ladder spots on stage around the arena and other places around the ring outside, all pile driver tombstone variations, including sit-down drivers, inverted poison hurricane runners and vertebreakers, high-risk dives or top rope moves, 450, 630, double moonsaults, SSP, etc., intentional bleeding of any sort, not just blading, throwing people into, through, or over the ring steps, commentary table, bell table, or guardrails, or barricades. Weapon use, that includes chairs, pipes, kendo sticks, hammers, ring bells, bats, chains, title belts, thumbtacks, skewers, barbed wire, and other sharp puncturing objects, powders, aerosol sprays or liquids, throwing any weapons or objects, chairs, choking, strangling with hands or a weapon, or hanging spots, injury spots or angles, whether or not medical is involved or called to the ring, any physicality in the crowd or crowd brawling, and any physicality involving referees, managers, extra celebrities, or special guest. And now one talent that Fightful spoke to said that they believe this is a good move. It will help streamline the show, avoid repeat spots and moves in general, and make more of the athletic spots that the talent are capable of. A lot to get into there, Michael Hamflett. What do you make of it all?
Loads, absolutely loads. Like, just doing this backwards a little bit, I don't think that one talent that they've spoken to, and it's a fabulous report by Fightful, and they said they're going to try and speak to other talent to get a gauge from the locker room. I don't think that one talent is wrong. I think some discipline across the card is good. So we were very lucky to be in attendance at Double or Nothing, and you could feel the excess throughout the night about like repetitive finishes and like whether it be weapons that you would becoming just desensitized to, or run-ins or things like that. Big high spots. You know, it's not necessarily the best practice to do things the WWE way, but the idea of nobody goes near the table or nobody works the leg, that's kind of become like 101 stuff.
Yeah.
It does, people have kind of gotten conditioned and used to that, and that's maybe no bad thing. Otherwise, I don't know how you unpack all this, quite honestly. Like, should we do the outright ban stuff first?
Yeah.
They've obviously made choices where there is just absolutely thick red line, you cannot do this thing. People will have their debates and their disagreements over whether that's right and how much that limits creative expression to just say a flat no to a performer that wants to see something in the heat of the moment. You know, we hear all the time about wrestlers that just want to call it in the ring and feel it all out there. And now the fact they can't do a thing they might have felt will surely eventually start to pile up on people. I'm not sad to see the back of some of these things.
No.
I don't like seizure cells.
I don't like it when Danielson did it in that Okada match.
That was one that stuck out to me. And there are others on there. There has been years where various companies have banned and unbanned pile drivers, or certainly banned them and then once said, you do one.
Yeah, you get the special exception.
Like a treat of a tombstone back in the last ride era of The Undertaker springs to mind. So there's precedent for this kind of thing. And that's not to say that all of this can't change. So that's a big thing. I think the bigger story is the list of the permission slip stuff. The wrestlers now presumably can't ask for forgiveness rather than permission.
Yes.
They're going to have to go get approved. But it's just so vast. It's just so exhaustive. This feels like it must have been thrashed out and thought about over weeks,
Yeah.
months even. It feels like there's pressures possibly external that have had something to do with this. The sheer
It was a time
scope,
described as a tightening of the screws as the company grows.
which is one way to put it.
Yeah.
But if you look at the sheer number of things, the volume of stuff they're talking about, that's Anarchy in the Arena finished.
Yes.
Like, you cannot run that much. Like, that's not us being hyperbolic here. You cannot run Anarchy in the Arena against the band list, let alone the things, can we do this, can we do this? Well, it's kind of supposed to be this unpredictable, anything can happen match. Right, well, I want a full detailed Ricky Steamboat, Randy Savage, move by move list of how this is going to work. That doesn't really feel like a match that can take place under those sort of like limiting guidelines. It's
Just even just AEW going into the crowd, it's feel like a regular thing, and now since that's going to be cut back on. Like, it's not outright banned that, but a lot of the things that they may want to do in there come with a lot of caveats.
Just looking at that list, as we've probably all read, or like if people are listening to you read that out for the first time as you were reading it, I'm sure every fan has done what we were doing there, which is immediately think of matches and moments that count for that. Oh yeah, remember that one, remember that one, remember that one, remember that one. And so many of those are wrestlers just acting in the moment because they're locked into their character and they're making for great wrestling television, even if it's divisive. And I don't know, I think that's going to be an interesting, I think there's going to be some choppy waters to navigate with this, because I think all the wrestlers will probably want what's best ultimately for the bigger picture, but talent have been often so rewarded for their creativity and for making those moments. If you think of, I don't know, something like Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa from St. Patrick's Day Smash, and how iconic that was for both women, and little flashpoints that maybe they just thought, we're making magic here. How much of that would have to be, right, 3 o'clock, can we have our magic meeting afternoon, please? Can we have the chat where we're going to plan all it? Wrestling hasn't historically always worked like that, and I just think that was something that AEW had that WWE didn't, and now they're going to have to juggle that a little bit.
Like Eddie Kingston. Hey TK, halfway through a match, am I right to come down with a petrol can? Or... do you know the blading thing's interesting for me? Because I don't want to outright say, there's too much blading in AEW. But there are times when it feels like a bit of overkill, or when it happens on multiple times on the show, and it undercuts one or the other. Like, I'll swear on the show where Brock Anderson got busted open in the back by Christian and Luchasaurus. Someone had just bled earlier on, and you know, I don't know. I think everything in moderation, including moderation.
Yeah, well put. So if they'd have just said that instead of the big long list, then that could have left a large window of opportunity open.
I'm disappointed with the lack of the limits placed on crowd stuff, though, because I loved MJF throwing stuff at children.
AEW put disclaimers on the screen before the show.
They do,
say, like, wrestlers may come near you in the crowd. Maybe that's been seen and it's been thought, you know what, we should probably take the disclaimer away and take the physical action away itself. I don't know. I think it's going to be really interesting to watch how this plays out. I think certain matches and spots will be analysed differently as we're all attuned to this and looking for, has that been taken away? I think the timing of it is fascinating ahead of Blood and Guts on Wednesday night.
Yes.
At least that'll be contained within a cage, I guess. I just think it's going to make the television interesting to pick at over the next few months, just to see if and what has been affected by it.
Fascinating development. Shout out again to Fightful for breaking that report. And let us know your thoughts on it in the comments section below, of course. We'll move on now to Ring of Honor. Death Before Dishonor is just around the corner, of course. And unfortunately, Mark Briscoe is out. It was tweeted, the news of this, by Tony Khan, who said... Due to an injury reported this week, Mark Briscoe cannot be cleared to wrestle at Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor, which is of course going down next Friday. We all wish Sussex Code Chicken the very best in his recovery. I forgot that was his Twitter handle. Claudio is on training sabbatical to prepare for the huge week ahead with Blood and Guts on Wednesday. Jesus, that's a hell of a week for Claudio. And Death Before Dishonor on Friday. We will address Claudio's pay-per-view challenger next week following the highly anticipated Blood and Guts event on TBS. Again, everyone at AEW and Ring of Honor is wishing Mark Briscoe the very best in his recovery. Fightful later added to this report saying that it's a serious knee injury that will likely require surgery. This sucks.
Yeah, that's bad luck. Total speculation on my part, but I did wonder if this Death Before Dishonor match existed to pay off the fact that Briscoe lost over WrestleMania weekend at Supercard of Honor.
I was stunned by that.
Yeah, he lost to Samoa Joe in a title match that felt like the kind of thing where you just give a wrestler a nice thing.
Yeah.
And Tony Khan's historically done a really good job of that as well, by the way, as a booker. They've not typically been the ones that hold back on the nice moments.
We weren't expecting everything, but I was expecting one of Eddie Kingston or Mark Briscoe to win that night.
And the fact that neither did, and then suddenly you've got a card that brings them both together. Claudio would have been working hurt, presumably off the back of Blood and Guts. Could have given Mark a body part to target or something. So yeah, a real shame, if indeed that was the plan and Briscoe was to win the title. And that's not to say this is... Just because it's not for now, it doesn't mean it's for never. You know, there's always a way to come back, presumably, hopefully, you know, best wishes to Mark Briscoe, hope the surgery goes well.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by the naming of a challenger after Blood and Guts. You've got so little time between this like match of chaos and destruction and danger to line up. Who do you line up a challenger? Either a babyface that's thinking, great, I get to pick the bones this guy that's just been in this battle, or somebody from Blood and Guts as a bit of afters. Do you know, like last year, Claudio and Kingston's story was folded into the finish, wasn't it?
Yes.
Claudio got the win when Kingston was about to get it.
I remember that now, yeah.
Do you find somebody,
Kota Ibushi?
Kota Ibushi, for example, do you look at somebody in that crew, do you suddenly beef up your Ring of Honor pay-per-view with a Kenny Omega singles match? Just,
wow.
For example, like, it does make me wonder the fact that they're waiting until after Blood and Guts to announce it, if Tony Khan's doing the old, right, well, Kurt Angle's going in the Shield then. You know, like he's got one of them sort of tricks in his back pocket just to blow everybody's mind with so little time to prepare for it sometimes benefits.
Not for me, Jeff. Put Dalton Castle in there. Put Dalton Castle in every match for me. I love that man. I think he's already in a tournament, actually, but
You've been honest enough to address their actual roster
He cuts promos on the way to the ring and he get the bar. I love him. He's just great.
I'm quite into Matt Taven promos and ring at the moment. And I've seen him win the ROH title once before, and that was a massive piss boiler. So I'll be back again for it.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't help feel that WWE, AEW's kind of dropped the ball a bit with Mark Briscoe. I feel like they had lightning in a bottle. You know, obviously awful news about his brother Jay, but it just felt like that if that's the time, if there's any time to capitalise on Mark Briscoe and give him a singles push, it's then. And I haven't been paying as much attention as I should to Ring of Honor, but it felt like, right, go now. You know, lightning in a bottle sort of thing.
It did feel like it was going to be a win.
He can't do anything about that. Get well soon, Mark Briscoe. Let's move over to WWE and possibly UFC with the news about Ronda Rousey obviously departing WWE very soon. You sense she will be gone after, I think, SummerSlam. And her match with Shayna Baszler. And now there's been a bit of speculation about her returning to the UFC. But Ariel Helwani has been quick to quash those rumours on Twitter. He tweeted, Ronda Rousey is not considering a UFC comeback, I'm told. No truth to the rumours. Started yesterday. Of course, a legend within women's MMA, the inaugural UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion. She defended it about 6 times, I think. She made an incredible leap over to WWE, one of the greatest rookie years ever. This second run, I don't think anyone would argue has been quite the same level. But when I heard the news yesterday, I thought, oh, that could be fun. And then I thought, actually, no, that would just be really hard to watch because I sense, we already saw it in her losses to Holly Holm and Amanda Nunes. I sense the game has kind of passed her by.
I mean, that's it. I can't speak in any regard to MMA or the rigours or what it would take for it to make this jump back, other than, from what limited things I do know, that there's possibly at least paydays in it. But are you not just getting money to take a slaughter in? Like, are you not just drawing a house, drawing a pay-per-view to get beat up?
I don't even know who you'd pour with.
Well, and again, I can't speak to that roster. I do wonder, like, it is interesting to ponder what's next for Ronda Rousey because this WWE run, as you say, hasn't gone as well as anybody would have liked. And it's not just, wrestling and UFC are different in many ways. Even though WWE and UFC now are the same company, but like, they're different in so many ways. And one of them is that it's much easier to go back to wrestling and be able to disguise some of the things that aging brings with it versus MMA, where you kind of are in there against possibly somebody, 10 years younger than you, 10 times fitter, goodness knows what.
It's, the women's game has developed so fast over the last few years, as you saw, like I say, with the Holm and Nunes fights. And I think being... the time she was away between the Holm and Nunes fights was bad enough. Now, it is a lifetime compared to what the sport that she left, in my opinion.
This reminds me...
They could do a big money final Ronda Cyborg fight that everyone's clamouring for years, but it's going to be a bit like one of those...
Rousey and Tate one more time.
Yeah.
Like, this reminds me a lot of Kurt Angle in just... irresistible psycho form in TNA. Loved that TNA run, underrated and goated at the same time. various reports at the time suggesting he was legitimately thinking one last run at the Olympics. He was going to
remember that, yeah.
like have a dual career sort of thing. And you're watching him thinking, where's Kurt Angle? He can do anything.
Yeah.
It's like, but he possibly can't do that. And that's just the way it works, you know.
I'm just going to assume podcast. Whenever anyone steps away from a spot, I assume podcast.
Look, and I'm sure it'll be a podcast.
I'd love to fight, like, her to be in like an ambassador for UFC would be really good as well, considering, you know, like I say, the legacy that she's got. But I'll always assume podcast.
Podcast, yeah. They're all going to try and come at the Kings. It's just they're probably going to miss.
Right, let's talk about Blood and Guts. Not the one going down this Wednesday coming, but potentially in the future, because Britt Baker has been chatting to the brilliant, I love this man, Mark Andrews, on his My Love Letter to Wrestling show, saying Blood and Guts for women would be awesome. I hope before I retire that's a regular feature of the Blood and Guts show. Just to have a female presence, I think, would be such a spectacle. We have some crazy girls in AEW that would be willing to really put their bodies on the line. I think that match would really, really deliver. She also talks about seeing women main event an AEW pay-per-view someday, fingers crossed, saying it's not that the women aren't talented enough to do it, we're just so lucky that we have so many of the best wrestlers in the world. I wouldn't rule either of these out.
No, there was a feeling, I guess, amongst us, but it must have been one that I think was spread across the fan base, that this year they were maybe building to it. The fact that the Outcasts came in as part of what felt like a turf war between these invaders. The early version of the Outcasts was very influenced by the NWO, and you had AEW homegrowns defending the turf in Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter especially, who then appeared to be flanking their armies with enough to do this Blood and Guts, especially while another gang war seemed to be building to Anarchy in the Arena.
Yeah.
And then that one got both. That one just got both, and to be fair, like the Outcasts kind of became more fully fleshed out and just became more part of the scene rather than trying to invade it, and that just went away. Look, we're going to be next year. We're going to be 4 years into this Blood and Guts gimmick, and I just think the industry has changed now. How long can you really wait? You know, you've got a WWE, for all their many faults, and the booking of the women's division, I think, has been pretty lousy under Triple H, has established nothing else but parity.
Yeah.
There is not a single stipulation that I can think of until somebody in the comments reminds me of one that like they now wouldn't give their pay-per-view main events to, and rightfully so, to the women's division. And at this point, AEW is still simply not really set up to that. I think Britt Baker's a great spokeswoman for this division because I think sometimes there aren't enough. I think it must be so hard for women's wrestlers in that division to feel like they can speak on maybe the lack of TV time or the lack of creative direction.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's female voices in the writing and the creative process. I think it was, I'm sorry if I've got this wrong, I think it was Stephanie Chase who asked this exact question of Tony Khan. He instead pivoted to talk about coaches. And obviously coaches are really important, but I think the question was voices in the room, creatively, and that's why maybe you're not seeing the stories being told. Blood and Guts needs a story, and we were so close to having one, and that's the thing. Like, she's right, Britt Baker, she's 100% right, but the story, like in AEW, it will always be the story that commands it, and until you get all the way back to there's 5 of us and there's 5 of you, let's put it in a cage, and that in itself, that feels more of a pipe dream than a stipulation match actually taking place.
And a main event.
Well, and I mean, if you put Blood and Guts on a women's Blood and Guts on a Dynamite, and then you put another singles match on the same card.
And on about 120 into the show, is it? Jeez, yeah. Right, let's move over to your Twitter question. Actually, let us know who you'd like to see in women's Blood and Guts in the comment section. And whilst you're down there, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Moving over to the Twitter questions, though, at WhatCulture WWE, if you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from John Harrison. Couldn't not pick this with you, having you on the news today. Adam Wilborn and his handsome co-host. Good Friday, boys. I'm 32. I've never had a Mountain Dew. Where do I start? Have a great day. Peace and love. Peace and love.
What? I mean, I love John. So, and I don't know if he was referring to me when he said handsome.
Yeah, I think
I'm assuming he thought Murray was in, but I'll gladly take this one. Right, I think you're based in the UK, John, so not here, unfortunately.
No.
Get yourself to any independent newsagents in your town or city nearby. The ones with the neon lights that stay up until all hours of the middle of the night, and any trouble can be found in them. They'll typically have 1 or 2 they've ordered on like sort of import, because you're not supposed to get it here, because it's so good it contains things that I don't believe legally we're allowed to have. I don't think it's like whatever our UK FDA approval is, we're not allowed it.
Yeah, if you can get it in, you know, the one you can get in Tesco's, that's not the good do.
Don't get Mountain Dew Energy. It's called Mountain Dew Energy. Success.
Cheating, innit?
Get proper Mountain Dew. There's you'll rarely find this straight up shoot green Mountain Dew. You just find the wacky flavours because again they've been bought off like the back of the truck. Mountain Dew Christmas Chaos, Mountain Dew Voltage. Get Code Red if you can. Code Red's my personal favourite.
I've never had Code Red, so I'm going to say Pitch Black.
Get
obviously.
Pitch Black if you can find it.
Oh, God.
The Fiend wasn't wrong. But I like any of those random flavours. I had one that tasted like Christmas cookies from one of the shops here in Newcastle. I was like, how have we even made this drink? You know, I'll be releasing my rankings worst to best list from 2023's due intake at the end of this year. So keep an eye out for that on Twitter if Twitter still exists by then.
I like Michael Hamflet on Twitter, or maybe Threads.
Never.
The Boss says, who's your pick to win the G1 Climax this year?
There's loads of them. There's 4 blocks.
Kingston in it.
Kingston is in it. There's 4 blocks this year. I'll be lying if I said I'll be able to engage in all of that because that's just more wrestling than even I can put up with. There's a huge youth movement or a movement to push New Japan forward past the names that we're all obviously super familiar with. I think you'd have to rule out Kazuchika Okada with Sonada as the defending champion. Like, they could always run that back at the Dome next year. I think you'll less have to rule out Tanahashi and Naito, unfortunately, looking at like how physically demanding the G1 is. I like Ren Narita in line with that. I like the idea that he could be one of the more, not surprising names because of where he is, but certainly they're really going with these people. They're pushing.
Ospreay's having a good year.
He is indeed, and could always be relied upon to carry that belt as well.
I'm going to back WCPW's very own Gabriel Kidd. Go on, Gabe, bring it home.
I expect him to have a good year, genuinely. Whether or not he wins it, I think that's a stretch, but I think he will have a very good year. It's another
happy with how he's doing it in Japan.
Another year he's going to elevate himself, I think.
Final question comes from Brian. Brian says, morning, Jeds. McDonald's has just bought WhatCulture, and the corporate overlords say that if you want to continue being presenters, you have to moonlight as a mascot at children's parties. Which mascot are you choosing and why? Now, you can take this as either...
It's hypothetical. I thought this was just breaking news. I was buzzing there.
You can take this as either a McDonald's mascot.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Hamburglar because I realised, Googling him, I genuinely look like him. Ben Roy, can you put a picture up on the screen of me and the Hamburglar? He's like got burgers. So you can have a McDonald's mascot, or you could just be like, I don't know, Tony the Tiger or whatever.
Chip Man. Like that. Well, I mean, I don't like that he's become a meme and it's associated with, like, I don't know, being found dead in a gutter with these Grimace shakes.
Oh, yes.
Grimace is goated.
Yeah.
It's just a weird, I'm like, especially you've seen me after we've been out for a run, I am just a sweaty, weird purple ball.
Yes.
So I'm fairly sort of close to Grimace anyway. I just think, like, he's so funny.
Yeah.
What is he? He's like, I do worry about the future of this great nation of ours, and indeed the ones over here making TikToks because they were lucky enough to get Grimace purple milkshakes and they just turned it into a killing spree on TikTok. Why has it gone wrong? So I'm going to go route 1.
Okay.
That's it. I'm going to take Grimace.
I'll also, I'll have Hamburglar if it's McDonald's mascot. If not, I'd always like to kind of rework the whole Kool-Aid guy, man, cool dude. Just hello! It fits me very well, that.
Actually, yeah. If there's something that's like more linked to my personality, like I just walk around being like, "Where's your burger, right? Beige guy." I'll have it plain. Like, they've put the button on the screens now so that we don't have to have us in the I don't like the condiments community, and I know you're out there, and I'm here for you. Don't have to stand at the front and be like, I can have a cheeseburger, please. Can you take off that and that and that? Just the cheese, just the burger. Do you want cheese? Yes, I want the cheeseburger, otherwise I'd have asked for a hamburger.
Can I have cheese on the side, though?
Yeah, put it in a separate plate. It's McDonald's, we don't have plates. I'll just leave. I'll just be beige guy. Even more boring than I'm now, walking around asking if people want things taken out of the burger.
I like that. Well, give us your suggestions in the comments. Let us know your thoughts on everything we've discussed. And check out this video right here. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.